Does anybody else remember Google Stadia? It's pretty crazy. That's how it kind of felt concerning this service for a while there. This thing launched in late 2019 and it ceased to exist in early 2023. And ever since then, by Jove, I haven't remembered this thing for months at a time. It's almost like this thing never existed, and then it pops up in my head like, oh shit, yeah. That. What I have here is a sealed Stadia Premier Edition. Now, I've owned Stadia before here and there, and it's primarily just been to record footage for videos. And once I got done with those videos, I was kind of like, all right, I'm done with Stadia. So I think I got rid of my initial Stadia controllers and the Chromecast Ultra included in this box. But you know what? Damn it. It's a great time to open up my sealed Stadia Premier Edition. There you go. One more. There you go. Pick up and play. All that's included here is the controller and the Chromecast. One place for all the ways we play. Not a super fan of kind of like this style of product sometimes, where they're trying to almost like make it emotional. Like, oh man, Stadia, it's one small step for man, one giant leap for thumbs. Gaming isn't a hobby. It's an art form. It's just kind of like this overly Appleification of whatever medium you want. Just kind of like making this seem like the most important fucking thing in your life right now. To be fair, that was kind of the whole vibe of Stadia from the get-go. A lot of articles were written up upon Stadia's announcement, just kind of like saying like, oh my god, gaming's about to change forever. I mean, it's Google. Google is one of the biggest companies of all time. So the fact that they were entering the gaming market was a huge deal. And the fact that they were kind of doing it in this more, in quotes, unique way with cloud streaming, just kind of showed like, oh wow, this might just be the future. I only go in quotes because cloud gaming has been a thing for like a decade at the time of Stadia's announcement and release. But before we get into this, oh boy, here's somebody that paid us. This video was sponsored by Helix Sleep, and this is the kind of epic sleep you can get on a Helix Sleep mattress. This is all a dream. Look at how vivid this dream is. It's like I'm really doing a paid sponsorship. Sam right here, he was in need of a new mattress.
I do sleep, yes.
So we took a look at the Helix Sleep quiz together.
And after a few quick questions, it nailed my sleeping desires, wants, even needs. The mattress they set me up with was the Helix Midnight, and I even selected the Glacio-Tex cooling pillow top because I thought, why not? I deserve this.
And then mail happened.
We got the mattress in, ripped it out of the box, and wham, there it was. After letting it settle for a few hours, it was ready for business. And oh boy, I slept on it. The Helix Midnight has a soft, cushiony feel with a firm surface underneath, which I prefer. So I'd say the Helix Sleep Quiz does the job.
After trying it myself, I would definitely say this is a great place to get a very high quality mattress, especially with the Sleep Quiz, because if I walk into a mattress store, I don't know what to tell them I like.
Also, if you're not in the market for a new mattress right now, but wish you could improve your old one, Helix offers the perfect solution with their range of mattress toppers.
They tell you to say that?
Yes, but I really like their mattress, so I'll do anything they want me to.
Well, I think Helix Sleep is great. They have great quality mattresses, and they make it really easy to find the exact right mattress for you. Unlike insert bad mattress store here. Oh! Thank you, Helix Sleep, for sponsoring. Visit helixsleep.com/scottstash to take advantage of their extended Cyber Monday sale and get 20% off site-wide. All right, you still with me? Okay. Does anybody remember OnLive? This was the thing back in like 2010. This was like the first major cloud gaming operation. And for what it was, in 2010, this was pretty damn ahead of its time. You could access the service on PCs, on mobile devices, or you could buy the micro console game system here. For some reason, I've always wanted to keep this little protective shield on it, and you can see how much protection is it really doing if you're seeing goddamn hairs on it. But regardless, this was pretty much an Apple TV like micro console device. You just plug in and then you can access all of your cloud streaming operations here. But the thing is, OnLive I would 100% consider way too ahead of its time. But for the time being, like, this was a really solid implementation of cloud streaming. I mean, I think comparing what you got out of OnLive back in 2010, 2011, I mean, like, yeah, cloud streaming has improved over the years, but honestly, for the time being, they were nailing it pretty damn well. And I will maintain the OnLive controller is honestly one of the most comfortable game controllers I have ever felt. It just feels so substantial, and it's like this perfect hybrid between an Xbox 360 controller and a PS3 controller with the thumbsticks down here and the D-pad the way it is. I don't know. I've always really enjoyed this controller. It's a shame I can't use it at all. I mean, like, there's a chance that I can, but I might need, like, this specific, like, dongle or something. I don't know. Whatever. It feels cute. The point is, this was nothing new. In fact, all the other companies were really trying to beef up cloud gaming operations. I mean, you have PlayStation with PlayStation Now at the time. And honestly, that's what happened with OnLive. OnLive was bought out by PlayStation, and all of their cloud gaming operations were pretty much used to help beef up PlayStation Now. At the time in 2019, Microsoft was also heavily pushing cloud gaming with Xbox and xCloud. Hell, even Amazon got into the mix with Amazon Luna. All the biggest companies were betting big on cloud gaming. And what, we're like 6 years, 7 years later, and I'm just sitting here asking, cloud gaming, where is it? I don't see cloud gaming getting pushed nearly as much these days as it was a couple years back. That doesn't mean it's not being pushed, but I think we kind of settled on what cloud gaming is and what it should be. Cloud gaming should be a supplemental feature, not the whole damn thing, which is what Google Stadia was. And I wouldn't say that's entirely the reason why Stadia failed. I think Stadia failed for a variety of reasons. And, you know, weirdly enough, I wouldn't say it's because of the quality of the product, because honestly speaking, Google Stadia wasn't half bad for what it was. Cracking the Founders Edition open, oh boy. I love seeing when companies are forced to create a video game controller, because a lot of the times they'll do some marketing mumbo jumbo saying they put like billions of hours into crafting the perfect video game controller design, and it turns out just to be like a more rounded off Xbox 360 controller. The Stadia controller isn't bad. It's a completely competent controller, but I wouldn't say this is like one of my favorites at all. It's just, it just feels like kind of a generic controller. To be perfectly honest, it's a pretty loud controller. Like, you hear pretty much every button press. So to me, you know, it kind of feels a little cheaper than super high quality or anything. But then again, you know, like, that isn't really me, like, dogging on this controller as a whole. Like, overall, it fits in my hands fairly damn well, and it's a competent controller. It does the job. I wouldn't call it bad at all, but I wouldn't say this is a great controller. I just say it's a fine controller. It's good. It just doesn't blow me away, you know? But we also got a Chromecast Ultra. Man, I remember when the first Chromecast came out in like 2013. I thought this thing was such a no-brainer of like an easy device for anybody to pick up. It was like 30, 35 bucks or something. It was just like a flash drive, and you just plug it into your TV, and it just considers the fact that like, okay, you have a phone on you, and you can just take whatever video you're watching on your phone and just beam it to the TV. It was honestly pretty damn genius. And the fact that it was also just like the size of a flash drive, and you just plug it in the back of your TV and just forget about it after that. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. You know, they kept on refining the Chromecast. I don't think a device that looks like this is nearly as like impressive to me, but it makes a lot more sense. This is definitely much more versatile. Instead of just having like this hard flash drive like device, you have something with a little more flexibility. You know, you actually have like a cable here. I think this makes a lot more sense. By the time we hit 2019 and they had this Chromecast Ultra, I wasn't necessarily in need of a Chromecast-like device. To be honest, most of the TVs releasing these days kind of have Chromecast-like functionality built into it. I mean, I know at the very least with like my Roku TVs, they have like Apple AirPlay built into it, and I can just beam stuff to that TV if I really want to. And I didn't even know in 2024, Google discontinued the Chromecast line. So thank you, Google Stadia. Me talking about you this random Monday really forced me to learn a little something here or there. So what else are we learning today? Well, this was pointless. I remember when Stadia was formally unveiled in 2019, you know, you have the CEO of Google going up on stage, and one of the first things that he says is, I gotta be honest, I don't play video games. At least he's honest. I think a lot of people kind of form some weird little parasocial relationships with a lot of these company CEOs and marketing executives, assuming that they're all like massive gamers themselves. No. Some of them are, but if you're expecting somebody like Doug Bowser from Nintendo of America to be like this turbo gamer and to be playing all these Nintendo games. No, I think he respects the hell out of Nintendo games, and I think he's enjoyed a Nintendo game or two. But would you really consider him to be like a hardcore Nintendo player? No. So to be honest, the Google CEO coming out and saying that, I'm like, okay, I respect you for this, but I'm also kind of thinking like, this is kind of the problem with this product as a whole. Over the past few decades, many companies have looked at the gaming industry and went, that is one of the biggest entertainment mediums out there. We have to do it ourselves. And it almost always flops. I think the only time when it doesn't really flop is when a company doesn't really intend on getting into the gaming market. They just kind of stumble their way into it. You know, you look at Apple with the iPhone's App Store and all of that. They didn't launch that thing saying, we're going to compete with Nintendo DS and the Sony PSP head on with our epic games. Like, no, they just launched an iPhone App Store and they went, oh yeah, you can play some games on it. And it just so happened to kind of take on a life of its own and become one of the biggest subsets of the gaming industry. But then you have shit like Ouya, and what they're trying to do is just like, oh, we're a game console too, guys. Like, to be able to do this requires so much work. And like I said, a lot of people kind of thought if any company can do it, it's Google. Of course, when Stadia was revealed, one of the major things everybody mentioned was the fact that Google kills off so many damn products that they start. Like, there's an entire website called Killed by Google, which goes over every single thing that Google has just abandoned, discontinued, killed over the years. And you know, let's be fair here. That happens with every company. Every company has to kill a product, kill a service, discontinue something. It happens. But the amount that Google has done over the years is astronomical. So when they are going up on stage and they're saying we are entering this giant industry that barely any other company has successfully been able to enter, we are going to enter this industry as a major player right alongside Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. This industry that nobody else has really been able to be successful in. Hell, you look at Microsoft, and Microsoft has failed to make a profit on the Xbox brand for decades. So even one of the big three is barely even functioning as one of the big three. So you combine all of this with the fact that Google is coming out and saying, we are doing this cloud gaming service. And that's concerning, because if Google can just kill a project just like that, and you have this new product here that is entirely reliant on Google maintaining the service, then yeah, it's really easy to be skeptical. And as it turns out, wouldn't you know what happened? Now, during this initial Stadia announcement, I think Google actually proposed a lot of interesting ideas. One of the ideas that they proposed was you'd be watching a YouTube video. Let's say you're watching a trailer for the newest Assassin's Creed. Then there would be a button that appears that says, oh, play this game right now. And you could just play it, and within a couple of seconds, it just brings you right to the game. All working within just a Chrome web browser. That is really impressive, and that is a really cool idea, not gonna lie. And you know, Google was showcasing how they had big companies like Ubisoft backing them and all that stuff, whatever. I gotta be honest, Ubisoft is there for like every single thing like this. And yeah, they make big games. Google Stadia had access to big games. But I'm gonna be completely honest here. You look at the lineup of games that released on Google Stadia, and like, yeah, these are solid titles, but this isn't exciting. So I'm jumping ahead a bit. You know, Stadia launched later that year in 2019, and overall, the quality of the service was not bad. My experience with Stadia was, yes, it wasn't perfect. You would see buffering every now and then. The video quality would go up and down, sometimes depending on your connection. However, overall, I'd say Stadia's quality was fairly decent. To be perfectly honest though, I had better results with Amazon Luna when I tried out Luna. And I honestly found the selection of games on Luna to be better than on Stadia. You had a far greater variety of games on that service. But even then, I'd say both of these services, well, they had big names a part of their game lineup. I think it mostly just kind of boiled down to a lot of these are kind of just the games that you buy when you already have a console, not games you buy a console for. On top of the fact that most of the games that were releasing on these were old at this point, like a year old, a couple years old, 10 years old, whatever. Like Stadia had Assassin's Creed games. That's cool, good for you. You had the modern Tomb Raider games, I love those games. You had Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village. You had Borderlands 3, the Darksiders games. You had Doom, Doom Eternal, Destroy All Humans, Final Fantasy 15, the FIFA games, Madden games. But as great as a lot of these games are, I mean, like, there's already a billion other places to play a lot of these games. Even like these massive games that casual audiences love, stuff like FIFA and Madden. If you want to play FIFA and Madden, you probably already have a game console you're playing FIFA and Madden on. And guess what? That game console, you already have your profile with all of your achievements on it. You have all your friends added there. You have all of this stuff already said and done on the console. Why are you going to bite the bullet and buy a $60 game on a cloud streaming service that you have to buy a controller for, and you have to log into Chrome, or you have to buy a Chromecast Ultra, or have a compatible phone? Yeah, Google Stadia just didn't work on any phone you could throw at it. It had to be very specific phones. I think that was kind of the weird thing. For a platform designed to kind of make gaming as accessible as humanly possible, this isn't really accessible. You still have to really buy into it. And it wasn't like Stadia was offering you this plethora of value right off the get-go. You know, a lot of people were saying, oh, Stadia is gonna be the Netflix of gaming. And you know what? I'm so fucking tired of hearing the Netflix of gaming. Firstly, let's talk about why Netflix got super big. Netflix was originally a DVD by mail company, and a lot of people used it, but it wasn't like this giant revolution or something. It was kind of like, hey, this makes sense if it makes sense to you. But then Netflix started offering the instant streaming functionality. And I remember using Netflix in like 2010 or something and scrolling through their instant streaming catalog. And that shit was endless, buddy. It was unbelievable. They had literally like every movie, every show you could possibly want, because there was no real like competition at the time. And all the companies that owned these movies and TV shows probably just thought like, yeah, sure, you can have our content to stream on your service. And I think very quickly, people started to realize, wow, this is so much better and such a better value than having cable or doing all this nonsense. Netflix's instant streaming was instantly like, oh my God, this is incredible. Stadia had like a handful of games that were available on like literally every goddamn platform at that point. They weren't exciting. So the idea of Stadia, if it had literally like every game imaginable on it, sure, yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. It could become the Netflix of gaming. Oh, one problem. You still have to buy all the games separately. Okay, so it's not the Netflix of gaming. Who the hell cares then? And fundamentally, what a lot of these companies are trying to go after is this idea of like, oh, let's do Netflix, but just for games, and it'll do just as well. And I just don't believe that. Movies and video games are inherently different. You get a Netflix subscription, and how much are you actively always using it? A lot of the time, you put something on Netflix in the background and you don't even pay attention to it. Like movies and TV shows are always kind of playing in our lives in the background, or maybe sometimes we're watching them dead on and we're super invested in them. Maybe sometimes we just kind of want to just put something stupid on or something. Video games are a much more hands-on kind of medium. Yeah, there are some games that you play or they're just totally mindless or something, but you don't put a video game on in the background while you do other work. And video games take an extensive amount of time a lot of the time. They can be hundreds and hundreds of hours long. And I don't know about you, but whenever I find myself hopping between game and game and game and game, like I'm not really invested in any of these games. I play for an hour and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then if I hop over to another game and then I hop over to another game, for the most part, that first game that I played, I can say goodbye to that. I'm never getting back to that game. It's really hard for me to juggle a bunch of games at once. I find that it's way easier to just focus in on one game in particular. So from that perspective, I just kind of have fallen out of love with a ton of these subscription services, with the idea of like, oh my God, I can access all these games. This is incredible. And the idea of that's incredible, but in practice, I'm only playing like 1 or 2 big games a month. And honestly, when you look at how much these subscription services cost and what exactly I'm getting out of it, I don't think it makes sense. So no, I don't think there needs to be a Netflix of gaming. I love that these subscription services can give me a ton of value if I'm hopping between games. And for what I do, a lot of times I just need a bunch of footage from a bunch of different games. So from that perspective, yeah, like I like staying subscribed to something like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass. But it's getting to the point where I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is way too expensive. And do I truly need access to all of these games at a moment's notice? I don't think games inherently need a Netflix-style model, or they really benefit from that. To be fair, Google introduced Stadia Pro, which was like a $10 a month subscription service. I think initially Stadia Pro was only kind of to give you higher quality streaming, like if you wanted to stream in 4K or something. As we can see by this infographic, Stadia Pro launched in 2019, and it was originally the only way you could play Stadia. The base Stadia, with no subscription required, came in 2020. Stadia Pro was for 4K, better sound. You got Destiny 2 with it, which was funny considering Destiny 2 went free to play around this time. I mean, yes, you get like paid DLC a part of this. You know, it is the collection of Destiny 2, but still just kind of funny. You get discounts. You don't get free games yet. You just get discounts, and it's $10 a month. That doesn't sound very enticing to me, I'm gonna be honest. But thankfully, Google started introducing games as a part of the Stadia Pro subscription. So, you know, you'd have some games added to the Stadia Pro lineup. So then if you're subscribed to it, you could just straight up download a bunch of games for free, which in my opinion is what Stadia Pro should have been in the first place, because that truly does make Stadia more Netflix-like at that point. However, I'm paying a monthly fee. This is pretty much the same as like Xbox Game Pass at the time. And in 2019, 2020, Xbox Game Pass was way better than Stadia Pro. Nowadays, Xbox Game Pass is way too expensive for its own good, but back in 2019, 2020, they were throwing out subscriptions to Xbox Game Pass like it was candy. They were just jamming it in Pop-Tart boxes for like a weekend of free Game Pass. Oh, why not? So overall, I gotta be honest, Stadia was more so exciting based on the promise of what cloud gaming could potentially bring us, rather than the actual service. Because the actual service, I mean, if you just wanted to play some games, it worked, but that's all it really did. I don't really think Stadia showcased how cloud gaming is genuinely the future compared to natively playing a game on a console or a PC or whatever device. There's too many problems that come up with cloud gaming. I mean, hell, Stadia had Mortal Kombat 11 available on it. I mean, a fighting game, you cannot have any lag, any latency. And Google Stadia was kind of promised to have like barely any lag, if any. And you know they were just gassing us up with that. Like, of course there's gonna be some lag. There's lag playing a game console with a wireless gamepad. You really think there's gonna be no lag playing with a wireless gamepad over an internet connection? I mean, that's just always been the case. Games that require pinpoint precision just don't work that well via streaming. But you know, games like Assassin's Creed, Resident Evil, Watch Dogs, Far Cry, those all work just fine on Stadia. And I would say Stadia's biggest selling point was in 2020 when Cyberpunk 2077 launched. You know, that game notoriously was a buggy mess at launch, and it just wasn't stable, didn't run very well. But Stadia, since Stadia was running the game on a high-end PC, and then they're streaming the game over to you, the game in many cases was actually running best on Stadia. And that's how I actually played a good chunk of Cyberpunk 2077. I played a lot of it on Stadia, and it ran really well. But by the time that game already launched, people were pretty much already off the Stadia train. And when it came to exclusive games available on this, there were some interesting titles. The most notable one was the game Guilt, but you had a couple others here and there, but nothing was really anything to write home about. With Google eventually saying like, hey, we're not making games anymore. We're not gonna make any exclusive Stadia games. We're just gonna focus on third-party multi-platform games. And by that point, I think it was pretty much said and done. Like, yeah, this isn't working. Game development is an investment, man. And you gotta believe in the art form. Some games are gonna develop, they aren't gonna immediately make like $1 billion back. And it felt like Google was kind of impatient about this. It felt like they just kind of went like, well, we're entering the gaming industry and we're Google, so everything is gonna go incredibly. To the point where they were just throwing money around. Apparently they paid $10, $20 million to get Red Dead Redemption 2 on the platform. And listen, I don't understand game development to a T at all, but for a platform like this, I think it's kind of just a matter of you're streaming over what's fundamentally the PC version of the game. Like, imagine you have the PC version of the game at Google headquarters right there, and then Google's technology streams it over to your Chromecast where you're playing with this controller. It's not like you'd have to have like this entirely brand new development team to port the game over to Nintendo Switch or something, which, hey, cloud streaming on the Nintendo Switch was always kind of seen as the easy way out. For a lot of games that were too powerful to run on Switch, and the companies behind them didn't want to spend time or money on developing a direct native port for the Switch, they would just do the cloud edition of the game. So you're telling me it legitimately costs like $20 million to get Red Dead 2 on Google Stadia? Like, that's absurd. I think that kind of showed Google didn't really know anything about like what they were actually doing here. They were just willing to throw money at things until they saw that this was not working out at all. So I will give Google this. When they announced that Google Stadia was shutting down, they gave refunds for everything. I got like 1 billion emails one day showing, oh, Google issued you a refund, a refund, a refund, a refund. Like, because I bought a lot of games at one point to, you know, get footage and test out Google Stadia, and I got refunds for everything. That was pretty nuts. I mean, they sunk a ton of money on this. This must have been a huge loss, because even then, the Stadia Founders Edition, this package, they were practically giving away. If you had a YouTube Premium membership, like, they were like, hey, you could claim a Stadia and a Chromecast for free. We'll just give it to you. Please, God, take it. And with the controller itself, this was initially not a Bluetooth controller. However, Google issued a software update where it would then turn this into a Bluetooth controller, which is really interesting and pretty nice, because again, while it's not like this incredible controller, it's definitely a very usable one. So, you know, if you just want to use this for PC gaming, I mean, like, yeah, it's a completely fine controller. It does the job quite well. But what's the main thing we can kind of learn from Google Stadia? Well, the gaming industry is a lot harder to get into than it seems. And I think a lot of people that were analyzing the situation at the time, and Google themselves, thought, yeah, this is definitely going to work, because if anybody can do this, it's Google. But you can't just have that mindset. You really need to have a great understanding of how games work. I think a lot of these companies assume gaming is just gonna be the exact same as like the tech industry or the movie industry or whatever. And it's just not the case. It's why we've had the same big 3 players for as long as we've had. Believe me, I mean, I think a company like Samsung or Apple or whatever has enough money to just create a game console like an Xbox or something, but they're not gonna do that because there is so much that goes behind all of this. And you can't just be a technology company and think, oh yeah, we have what it takes to be a video game company. And I think Google thought, oh yeah, we're Google, and also we have a great product, and we're gonna have games, and we're gonna have the biggest games. Assassin's Creed is a big game. Everybody will love that. That's on Stadia. Yeah, also, like, everybody that wants to play Assassin's Creed already has a very competent way of playing Assassin's Creed. They have an Xbox, they have a PlayStation, they have a PC. So if you're gonna launch this and you want people to transition over to using Stadia, you need to launch with all your features available. And Stadia barely launched with any of the damn features they promised in any of their little keynote presentations. Hell, I remember using the Chromecast and this controller. I couldn't add games to my Stadia account. I had to use my damn phone to add games to my Stadia account, and then they'd appear on the Chromecast. Why do I have to do that? Correction, why did I have to do that? Yeah, this is dead as shit. Yeah, f*** off. Okay, I'm being a little rude here. Stadia performed well. It was a solid cloud streaming service. But again, my big problem with cloud gaming is at the time in 2019, 2020, a lot of these companies were seeing it as the future. And I think it's just a solid supplement. It's a good feature to use if it makes sense for what particular situation you're in at the time. And I think Google learned that the hard way. But hey, at least they were a pretty sore loser. They gave me refunds. And hey, you know what? I better get to applying that little Bluetooth software update to my Stadia controller, because I don't want to hit the deadline to the point where I can't do that anymore. Why is there a deadline? I don't know, but let's do it. All right, finally, I could never use this controller on PC. I don't even like this fucking controller.